of Jesus.
Apostolic Sunday School.com.
Welcome to ApostolicSundaySchool.com. Today we're actually going to be reading one of the articles that is on Apostolic Sunday School called Fill Me Up So You Can Pour Me Out. Have you ever felt tired? I mean really tired? Where you just don't want to do anything anymore? Have you ever been burnt out? Exhausted? You ever felt like the last thing you wanted to do was prepare for your Sunday school lesson? To get up early for that outreach on Saturday? Or set up for your classroom on an early Sunday morning, or maybe late Saturday night after a long week? Have you ever felt like you just couldn't do it anymore? Like no one else in the whole world even cares, and you're the only one? And if no one else cares, why should you? Have you ever asked yourself if anyone would even notice if you didn't do as good a job as you normally do? If you don't try as hard as you usually do? Who would know? Who would even care if you didn't really prepare for your lesson and maybe just use something that you had laying around? Some old, hashed up, worn out lesson that you've done before. Who would know, and who would even care? Who would know if you went on outreach for 15 minutes, knocked on a few doors, and left and went home? Who would know, and who would care? Have you ever gone to bed late on a Saturday night and wondered if you would even have the energy to wake up the next morning and face that rowdy group of kids or ride on that noisy, crazy Sunday school bus? Would you really be able to teach them? That question can go through your mind. Would you be able to teach them at all and still retain your sanity? Somehow the next day, you're able to get out of bed. Somehow the next day, you're able to do it, but you're thinking, there's no way I can keep on doing this. If you've ever felt any of these emotions, let me be the first to tell you that you are not alone. It's called being human. And it's something that we've all dealt with, and it's something we all experience if you've ever donated or dedicated a portion of your life to the work of God. I heard a story from my brother. He's now the pastor of our church, and he told me about when he was younger. And this story really helps me whenever I'm going through some of these negative thoughts. He told me about a conference that he was at one time, and the power of God fell so strongly. It was one of those special moves of God, one of those ones that, well, it just lingers on, and you just don't want to leave. And he had crawled under the platform and just kind of soaked in the presence of God until he was just completely and utterly saturated. Eventually he came out and he was sitting kind of limply on a chair, and an old preacher came up to him, put his arm around him, and he started talking to him. He called him by his name and he said, "Do you know why God fills us up the way he did for you tonight?" Well, my brother didn't really know how to respond, so he kind of kept silent. But then the man of God continued. He said, "You know, he doesn't fill us up the way he did tonight for you, just so you can feel good, or even just so you can make it to heaven. There's more to it than that. He fills us up so he can pour us out upon others. That's the plan of God. He fills us up so he can pour us out again." You know, and ever since I've heard and I've understood what he meant by those words, I've come to recognize those dry moments for what they really are. It's in those moments that I'm empty. It's in those moments that I know I'm completely poured out. When I feel burnt out, when I feel utterly spent, I know that it's because I need to be filled up again. I need a power-packed Holy Ghost move of God. I need a service, a long, lingering prayer meeting, maybe a conference of my peers where I can be re-inspired and renew that passion, rekindle that spark. I need a renewing so I can be poured out again to the kids of my church and the kids of my community. After all, how can you pour anything out of an empty vessel? Sunday morning for a thriving evangelical church is one of the most exciting, but one of the most energy-draining days of our week. Our weeks are nuts. Sundays are crazy. From waking up early setting up the classrooms. We roll out the red carpet for our kids. We put up a banner. We get out and set out the bounce houses. We make sure the breakfast teams are ready. We lay out the chairs. We prep the lessons. We ride the bus. We teach. We sing. We drop the kids off. We collect attendance. We enter the attendance. And on and on. And by Sunday afternoon, there's nothing left. By Sunday afternoon, completely spent, completely worn out. Just don't feel like you have anything left. And that's why I need to spend as much time as I can the rest of the week getting filled up all over again. I believe as much as anyone in the necessity and power of children's ministry. But despite my passion in this belief, I find myself on occasion doing what I do almost out of habit, out of rote. Thankfully, God renews. And on one such recent occasion, my wife and I went to the Commit Conference at Baton Rouge that's put on by Brother Tony Spell and his church. There I got to listen to the likes of Brother Merle Cornwell, who spoke about their fleet of 27 buses. Thousands of Bible studies he's taught over the years. I got to listen to Brother Tony Spell, who spoke about the 20,000 bus riders they picked up last year on their 14 buses. I got to hear about all kinds of topics, and I left inspired, reignited. I left completely full once again. I believe in children's ministry, but I left even more convinced. I went inspired, but I came back even more so. I went maybe kind of empty, but I left filled to overflowing. To sum this article up in a single sentence, if you ever feel empty, if you ever feel burnt out, there's a very simple answer. Just find a place with God and get filled up all over again.